Hello and welcome aboard another episode of the Gallant Says podcast, live at youtube.com/Paul Gallant or twitch.tv/Gallant Says. It is the early hours of Monday morning, October 9th of 2023. I just got back from Maid Park about 10 minutes ago or so, where the Minnesota Twins, let's be honest, kicked the shit out of the Houston Astros in a 6-2 victory. The final score is very misleading, at least in my honest opinion. Very curious as to what you guys think about what you saw there. This was a game where there just was no energy, and I hate to use the crowd at Minute Maid Park, which has been the subject of my ire. I talked about it on last night's podcast. I feel like, I'll say it, the crowd's just been shitty. Is it because it's become a wine and cheese crowd at Minute Maid Park? I don't know. But it just felt low energy all game long. And there are reasons for that. Are we going to turn this into a scandal? I don't fucking know. I know we turned a couple of Twins fans chanting "We want Houston" into a big deal. Does it motivate the Astros? Who actually knows? I just thought it was a funny story because we saw the same thing with the Yankees and obviously the Astros after they beat the Yankees in the ALCS. Martin Maldonado loved rubbing it in the face of New York. You want Houston, you got Houston. But there's this other story that popped up on Friday and probably wasn't discussed much on sports talk shows because of it. But apparently the Houston Astros had dinner with Carlos Correa before this series began. And at the end of the dinner, they wished Carlos Correa luck. Again, stupid nothing story, right? But tonight, Carlos Correa was 3 for 4. He had 2 doubles. He knocked in 3 runs, including the first run of the game that put Framber Valdez in a 1-0 hole out of the gate. And he has just been awesome for the Twins these playoffs. His statistics, if you take a look at these playoffs through, what are we at? 4 games, I think, now with Correa. He is batting .533 in the playoffs. He is slugging .733. He's killing it. Absolutely killing it out there. And in game 1 of this series, I mean, he also had a double. He's hitting the crap out of the ball. He even made a couple of web gems out there. After the game, Twins manager Rocco Baldelli said that he is a giant in the lights. Yeah, that's for fucking sure. He broke the record, I guess, for both Derek Jeter and I want to say David Ortiz as far as postseason runs batted in, which is pretty impressive. And there is some controversy over whether or not Astros fans should boo Carlos Correa when he's up at the plate. That was the last question that he was asked about at his press conference after the game. And he gave a canned answer saying, yeah, I mean, like, it's in the past, me playing here. And, of course, they want their team to do well. But I do think he was a little bit bothered by all the boos. But I kind of get all the boos. He's kicking their ass. At the plate, Correa is the reason that the Twins won today. And then, on the mound for Minnesota, you had Pablo Lopez. So for those who don't know that much about Pablo Lopez, and I will count myself in that conversation, at least going into this postseason, Pablo Lopez has been one of the most prolific strikeout pitchers in all of baseball. I think he was top 5 in terms of strikeouts in all of the majors this year. He threw 7 scoreless innings. He struck out 7 along the way. Just 1 walk. There were 6 hits, but not one Astros runner even made it to third base while he was in. Not one. So, those 2 guys single-handedly kicked the shit out of the Astros tonight. And I'm not going to freak out about it. It was a bad performance by the Astros bats. We know they're capable of more. And I think the big key for this series is they're going to have to continue to do what they've done so well on the road, which is to win, because you do not want Pablo Lopez back on the hill for the Twins in a theoretical do-or-die Game 5. You just don't want that. Not with the way that he pitched tonight. Now, for the Astros on the mound, not Framber Valdez's best night, and he's been so fucking up and down this season. It's been super frustrating. His control was not great, specifically in the first 2 innings. 22 pitches in the first inning. He allowed 1 earned run. 22 pitches in the second inning. He allowed that 2-run home run by, Kyle Farmer. So they were down 3-0. And he seemed to settle in the third and in the fourth, but then in the 5th inning, 3 singles, a walk. He allowed 2 more runs. He gets chased. I guess at the very least, Dusty Baker made the right decision in having Justin Verlander as the first starter in this series and not Framber Valdez before Christian Javier takes things over for Game 3 in Minnesota. But this is where Framber Valdez has been. Rocco Baldelli, the manager of the Twins after the game, was asked about the strategy that his team had going up against Framber, and he said that his pitches look different, Framber's do. I think he was about to reveal to everybody that he told his hitters to lay off some of the stuff that he throws. And it really did feel, especially early on, that they were making Framber work for it. And the thing with Framber, the guy gets in his own head a lot. We've seen it multiple times this season. We've seen it multiple times over the course of his career. It's documented in an Athletic article that was written as well. There are moments where Framber Valdez is just not the Framber Valdez that we saw last year, and we've seen a lot more of it this season. He was so damn consistent in 2022. This year, we have seen him frazzled, angry. He gives up a run or a couple of hits, and he starts throwing at the next hitter. And that didn't happen tonight. He didn't melt down, but he didn't pitch well. And when you factor in that Pablo Lopez just completely dominated the Astros lineup, that was it. That was it. The only offense you got was a 2-run home run by Yordan Alvarez right after Lopez left the game in the 8th inning. I feel tired, and I'm not going to lie. I think that being at Maid Park made me tired, and not because I've been watching sports all day and writing notes and studying the tendencies of the Falcons against the Texans and then the tendencies of the Twins against the Astros as well. No. Nope, it's not that. It's that I watched a baseball game in a fucking mausoleum. What is up, people? Again, I'm not telling you to scream until your voice is hoarse here, but it's a playoff game, and it felt dead. Just the whole game. The only time the Astros crowd delivered was when they were booing Carlos Correa, which in of itself is kind of fucked. But hey, at least you were up for that. There was a moment with Framber on the hill where the crowd was at its loudest, and I was actually happy for a second. You had 2 strikes on Carlos Correa. Whole crowd stood up. It was loud. But then either Framber threw a ball or a pitch got fouled off and people stopped being as loud. And as the at-bat continued, it became quieter and quieter, that standing ovation. And eventually, when Correa walks, it was quiet, like a church. So the loudest moments from a crowd that really just felt like they were bored. And sorry I'm calling you out. Look, baseball's boring to me too, but not the playoffs. I found myself yawning a lot because of just how quiet and dead that atmosphere was. So the boos for Correa were the loudest things I heard. The second loudest thing I heard was cheers when Yainer Diaz pinch hit for Martin Maldonado. And I get it. You want to see Diaz hit more than Maldonado, but Yainer Diaz wasn't going to hit 4 home runs tonight. The rest of the Astros lineup really struggled. And Pablo Lopez is a great pitcher. He deserves credit. It's very hard to hit in baseball as it is, especially when you're going up against a truly great pitcher in Lopez. But look at the lineup. Carlos Correa, 0 for 3. Yordan Alvarez, before he hit the home run, he was 0 for 3. They were 0 for 6 combined with 4 strikeouts. Kyle Tucker, 0 for 3. He's hitting 143 thus far. Jose Abreu, this is kind of expected, 0 for 4. The guy who has been hitting the best for you outside of Jose Altuve, who hit the home run in his first at-bat, or Yordan Alvarez, who has 3 home runs in 2 games, has been Jeremy Pena, who's batting all the way towards the bottom of the lineup in that 8th spot. Do you want to move Pena up? People are always looking for reasons to pin the blame on Dusty Baker. I've found it kind of annoying at this point. I get some of the frustrations with Dusty Baker, but it felt like people were trying to show their disapproval of Dusty Baker as manager of this team by giving a standing ovation when Yainer Diaz came in to pinch hit. And Diaz not being in, Martin Maldonado being in, that wasn't the problem, even if it would have made sense to put Diaz in the 5th inning after Framber had been pulled. But that's just the way that things are, and I suppose I should just accept it. Anyway, very quiet chat. So I guess we're just going to talk about this more on the radio show tomorrow. YouTube.com/Paul Gallant, Twitch.tv/Gallant says if you ever want to join this stream live. We have yet to figure out a regular time on these Sunday nights, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursday nights that we do this. We've been giving you some special bonus episodes. I say we, what am I, like someone with multiple personalities? I'm Gollum and Schmeagol. But it kind of sounds like I sound like an asshole when I say I. We have been giving you multiple episodes this weekend after a Texans game, after game 1. You can check those out. Again, youtube.com/Paul Gallant, twitch.tv/Gallant says. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. We will be doing a radio show later this morning, 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. And until then, so long, farewell, and have yourselves a wonderful Monday morning.